So stay tuned to the forecast.
Heat Alert, the new tool designed to help keep you cool during a summer swelter.
To be able to not just look at the meteorology of the heat, but also the health impacts of the heat on the community.
Allergy season, why it could last longer than usual in some parts of the country.
So you have so many driving forces. You have dry weather, you have windy weather, you have warm weather.
And sand saviors, beach robots working to keep the sun-kissed sand spotless.
We'll pick up those plastics that are not necessarily visible to the human eye.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Steve Rudin from WJLA in Washington, D.C. The National Weather Service reported a hailstorm that struck South Carolina over the weekend was the most damaging in recent memory. Baseball-sized hail fell within a 70 to 90 mile per hour winds, shattering windows and damaging homes. This all happened in Rock Hill, about a half-hour drive from Charlotte. Jason Puckett has more.
In the 2 days since severe storms and hail ripped through parts of Rock Hill, the community has been realizing just how much damage there really is.
We came outside where you can see the gutters. It's like somebody took a machine gun and just shot up everything.
Look almost anywhere and you see destroyed cars, broken and boarded windows, trees crushing houses and vehicles, and downed power lines.
Somebody compared it to Hugo, but worse in some ways.
Many in the community working to repair damage and clear roads today, but one of the biggest problems still facing hundreds, the lack of electricity.
We've been out of power here since Saturday.
That means no AC or heat, no refrigeration, for some, no cooking either.
With no power, we're not able to open our doors for guests due to a lot of different reasons.
Jan Stevenson runs the Dorothy Day Soup Kitchen. The Soup Kitchen, just one example amidst the destruction that the community here is focused on helping each other and recovering together.
All I can do is say pray. We check on the neighbors to make sure everybody's good.
A powerful hailstorm swept through another South Carolina city over the weekend. Meteorologist Trailer Canoost has the latest on the cleanup.
Well, a freak storm impacted Rock Hill, South Carolina on Saturday and produced some significant damage. We're talking trees down, siding ripped off due to a combination of some intense wind gusts of 70 to 90 miles per hour, but also some unusually large hail, especially for this part of the country. Hail as big as baseball size. For perspective, the state record for the largest hail in South Carolina history is 4.5 inches wide. So what happened on Saturday? Why did this large hail fall? Well, we had really warm temperatures at the surface in the mid 80s, but above the ground, it got colder in a hurry. That combined with the powerful thunderstorm with these updraft winds as strong as 70 to 90 miles per hour was enough to support these huge hailstones that developed and eventually came crashing down on the southern suburb of Charlotte, North Carolina on Saturday afternoon.
Much of the Mid-Atlantic and Appalachians woke up to frost advisories and freeze warnings early this morning. It's not unusual to see pre-dawn temperatures dip below freezing this time of year. So when can you expect to see the last freeze where you live? Meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael posted the answer on his Facebook page.
What is up, everyone? The sun is up and the frost that we had earlier this morning is now gone and melted off of the grass. However, we're not done with the frost just yet here in central Ohio. Take a look at this map. It's the entire country. And typically here in Ohio, it's late April, early May when we are then considered frost-free. The rule of thumb typically for central Ohio is Mother's Day. That's when you finally have the green light to go ahead with your green thumb and start planting stuff outside in the garden, the tender and sensitive plants. Now, keep in mind, there is going to be some frost on the way still in the forecast. So if you need to cover up those plants, use a fabric sheet, not plastic. Plastic will kind of suffocate it. You can get freezer burn underneath of it as well. As we move forward, though, we still have some frost on the way, so stay tuned to the forecast. Those overnight lows in the mid to low 30s, cover those plants. And if it's any colder than that, you absolutely will need to get those covered. Good news is warmer temperatures, though, are just around the corner.
And with plenty of chilly nights ahead and summer gardens already planted in many areas, how exactly does frost form? Meteorologist Sharon Ray explains.
We do see the actual air temperatures taken about 5 feet above the ground. And if the temperature, let's say, is 36 degrees above the ground, as these clear skies allow that cooling and the air sinks, we do see that sinking air causing the actual ground temperatures right at the surface down to near 32 degrees. And if there's enough water vapor in the air, that could condense out in the form of frost as that cold air, as the moisture touches the frozen surface. We do see that frost develop, although your thermometers above the ground may be reading above freezing. Right at the surface, it's at the freezing mark. And favorable conditions for this are clear skies and the light winds and some moisture in the air and temperatures in the 30s.
Cicadas have already started to emerge across parts of the country. Meteorologist James Spann shared these photos from western Georgia on his Instagram page. Countless bug-eyed insects from 2 separate broods will appear this summer in at least 17 different states. Some have been underground for nearly 13 years, while others 17 years. More will emerge as soil temperatures continue to warm. Dangerous drought conditions are expected this summer across Washington state. This comes after a warmer and drier winter and a smaller snowpack, forcing the state to make an emergency drought declaration. Paul Rivera has more.
Pretty shocked to see it happen this early in the year.
Just 4 months in, there's worry in wildfire-prone areas like land covered by Snohomish Regional Fire and Rescue, which saw the devastating Bolt Creek wildfire 2 years ago.
In Western Washington, we've been accustomed to a wet, dry climate. But more recently in Western Washington, it's become a concern that we've had.
Firefighter Ray Saya said they must be ready year-round and have put equipment like brush trucks in vulnerable areas. This drought will create a lot of ripple effects. The low snowpack can impact the energy and water supply and our agriculture. This early drought also means it's time for you to prepare, as most wildfires, whether accidental or on purpose, are caused by people.
We're really urging folks to look after the defensible space within the first couple dozen feet around their house. Make sure you are keeping vegetation low. If there are tree branches, limb them up.
We can have these droughts, we can try and deal with these droughts, but we don't necessarily need to have these wildfires because, again, it's human behavior that needs to change. It's here now. It's here. It's soon to be May, and we're going to be having wildfires. It's concerning, but most of all, though, we're prepared.
Drenching weekend storms in Texas were not drought busters. Over 4 inches fell over parts of the area, but not where it could have helped the most to refill Highland lakes. Betty Cross talked with the Lower Colorado River Authority about what relief might be coming this spring and summer.
Any amount of rain anywhere in Texas is welcome during the current drought. But Saturday's rain fell downstream of Austin, not upstream, and did little to fill a shriveling Lake Travis that is only 37% full.
We want it north and west of Austin. We'd like to see rainfall anywhere from Fredericksburg up to Llano, all the way over to Menard, Brady, up to Brownwood.
John Huffman oversees the Lower Colorado River Authority's waters. The LCRA Hydromet shows that over the past 3 days, the heaviest rain fell outside the watershed that feeds the Highland Lakes. The long-term outlook is also not ideal because El Nino is weakening and will likely end this spring or summer.
We have the potential, a good potential, according to the meteorologists, that we might see a return of La Nina in the fall. What that means for us is there's a good chance that we'll have another hot, dry summer ahead of us.
The current Texas drought is historic in terms of severity, and another blistering summer could push some state water supplies to the brink.
And if it goes through the summer, it'll qualify probably as the worst drought we've seen in our part of the world.
The hope now is that May and June will live up to their reputations as being 2 of the wettest months in the Austin area.
Keep your eye to the sky. April's full moon reaches its peak illumination later this evening. It's known as the pink moon, but the name has nothing to do with its color. According to the Old Farmer's Almanac, the pink moon is connected to springtime blooms and wildflowers, including one called moss pink. NASA notes it's also called the Passover moon, named after the Jewish holiday that started last night. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll show you what NOAA's doing to help you better prepare for excessive heat this summer. And a look at how this year's weather is making allergy season longer and more severe.
I'm meteorologist Charlie Lopresti with a look at the Northeast. We have a cool air mass in place early this morning. Most communities are starting in the 30s. We'll see unlimited sun today. It's going to be a beautiful day with an onshore wind. We're coolest at the coastline. There we'll stay in the 50s. Few spots will nudge the 60s, especially in northern New Jersey and through most of New York. Now, the next weather maker will bring a little bit of light rain, and the time frame for that will be Wednesday morning. We're not tracking a big storm. In fact, it's gone by Wednesday afternoon with sun returning Thursday.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Jabali. Here's a look at the mid-Atlantic region. Your Tuesday starts out nice and dry and will finish that way until very late at night. Closer to Wednesday morning, we'll see some scattered showers roll across the area, not adding to a whole lot of rainfall, but we'll see just a few sprinkles lingering behind as we head into your Wednesday afternoon. It looks like temperatures are going to be gorgeous after a frosty start on your morning, but here we are Tuesday afternoon, highs in the low 70s. We'll see that very closely matching for your Wednesday.
I'm meteorologist Charlotte Carl. We have a very seasonable day ahead of us in terms of our afternoon highs will be in the 70s. Some of us getting into the low 80s, but for the most part, quiet weather as high pressure continues to dominate throughout today. Overnight tonight, we will see some storms develop along the northwestern part of our area, pushing into Arkansas, Tennessee, and then clipping Alabama and Georgia. Weather stays quiet outside of that for everyone else in the south.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
A look at the start of day with these gorgeous sunrise views, first in Myrtle Beach and along the St. Mary's River, which separates part of Michigan from Ontario, Canada. Meanwhile, near Oklahoma City, this dog makes friends with a deer, while elsewhere, this owl parent and baby owl gaze on from their nest near Reno.
Listen to Off the Radar, new episodes every Tuesday.
Hot summer months are almost here. NOAA is expanding a tool to help you better prepare for excessive heat. It's called Heat Risk, and it provides information for guidance for people who are vulnerable for hotter temperatures or when it gets really hot outside, and they need to take extra precautions. We spoke with National Weather Service Director Ken Graham about the tool. While he mentions Washington, D.C., the information applies to most urban areas.
Yeah, you look at summers are getting more intense. So this new tool, the heat risk tool, that we've partnered with NOAA, the Weather Service, and CDC together to be able to not just look at the meteorology of the heat, but also the health impacts of the heat on the community. And urban areas are different than the rural areas. You think about the DMV, you think about the urban heat island, you think about at nighttime being unable to really cool off those urban areas because the concrete soaks in all that heat and then releases that at night. So those specific tools will help people in the DMV be able to make those decisions to save their lives when it comes to extreme heat.
Heat Risk provides historical context for high temperature forecasts and its impacts. It's that time of year, spring cleaning. In Green Bay, Wisconsin, the warmer months and the summer shipping season is about to begin, meaning cleaning of local bridges. Mario Ludick has the story.
It's not often we see a downtown Green Bay bridge open for hours at a time.
You know, a lot of people do spring cleaning around their homes. That's what we're doing, is spring cleaning. It's just we're getting everything, make sure that everything is shipshape for shipping season.
City of Green Bay Public Works Director Steve Grenier says it's a yearly necessity.
During the winter, you use anti-icing compounds, which are salt-based to help keep salt or ice from accumulating on a bridge. Those are corrosive, so we want to get that salt washed off and make sure the bridge is clean.
All of that cleaning takes place under the road's surface, in here. That's where the gears and mechanics of the bridge are. Grenier says down there, something as small as road salt buildup can have a big impact.
There are steel counterweights on that bridge that help it lift and come back down at a slow rate. Those steel counterweights are just stacks of steel plates that are bolted in place. If materials are able to get in there, salt is able to get in there, it generates what we call pack rust. And the pack rust will start splitting the plates apart. It'll break the bolts that hold the plates in place. The plates will shift, they'll bind, and the bridge won't close properly.
He says it's much more than just cleaning, too.
The lift mechanisms, we're doing some inspection, routine maintenance, lubrication of those lift mechanisms, checking the deck to make sure that there's no minor issues with the deck that need to be addressed, and make sure that the bridges are all overall in good shape and ready for the season.
Central Texas is in the thick of allergy season. Allergists say the season kicked off early this year and is sticking around longer and longer, partly because of recent wet weather. Monique Lopez has more.
It's pretty intense right now because it's still ongoing, where a lot of times after 4 weeks or so, the season will start to wind down, and this one just keeps going on and on.
Dr. Alan Lieberman is an allergist at Austin Family Allergy and Asthma. He sees allergy sufferers daily, but when asked to compare this year's allergy season in particular, he says it's a pretty bad one. Lieberman says typically the oak pollen season starts in the beginning of April through the middle of May, but this year it started much earlier.
The allergy seasons are starting earlier, and we certainly saw it this year where we were seeing really, really high numbers of oak pollen around spring break. So it's very, very unique, but it seems to be a new pattern that's occurring.
CBS Austin meteorologist Austin Burks knows the weather like the back of his hand. He says weather alone plays a huge factor in how the allergy season will look.
It's probably one of probably the biggest influencer to pollen, because you have so many driving forces. You have the dry weather, you have windy weather, you have warm weather like we're seeing right now. That's why seasons matter. Winter season and then spring season, when everything's starting to bloom and blossom from the rainy season and stuff, really is why pollen takes off and makes our lives much worse.
Sure, rain is good during allergy season when it comes to how much pollen gets in the air, but once it's gone, other issues arise.
When we see rain, it's our friend during pollen season and stuff, but once it gets done raining, the grasses, trees, all that stuff love it, so pollen just goes wild after that.
Burke says we may start getting relief once the summer months hit. That's when the rain is not as big of a factor. Things start drying up and the pollen count goes back down.
Since its launch in February, NASA's PACE satellite is ushering in a new era of ocean and earth science data. The first images from PACE are just coming in. Emily Gracie spoke to a NASA scientist to find out what they've learned so far and how it could help with weather and climate forecasts.
PACE mission is primarily equipped with state-of-the-art instruments that will study the ocean, the atmosphere, and land.
What can it tell us about weather extremes, and will it help with forecasting?
Absolutely. So PACE will have the ability to also identify what kind of aerosols there are in the atmosphere, and will also help us to learn about how clouds form. So the tiny particles in the atmosphere, called aerosols, are basically come in different shapes and sizes. They do come from different sources as well. Either it could be coming from wildfire smokes, for example, or pollution or sea salt. And it's really important for us to learn about these particles because we care about air quality, for example, right? So small, tiny aerosol particles that we breathe in can actually have an impact on our health and our lungs. Also, aerosol particles regulate the climate, the way that they reflect the sunlight. They can use as a seed to form cloud particles. So aerosol particles are basically a nucleus for cloud particle and cloud formation. It is very useful to learn about this information and tie that to how weather patterns form and so on.
Does that data from PACE, is that like already going into computer models for forecasting, or is that something that takes more time?
Yes, so we just finished our commissioning period, so the data are right now publicly available to anyone to be able to download the data and ingest that data into whatever applications that they need. We also have been working over the past few years with early adopters, with NOAA, try to ingest that information from PACE data and be ready once the data are available, try to utilize it in models and help us better predict climate change and weather systems.
To learn more about this new satellite, including how it will help with the upcoming hurricane season, head over to YouTube for the extended interview. Just search the National Weather Desk. Time now for a short break, but first we take a view of the tulips in bloom at North Carolina's historic Biltmore Estates.
Well, a very good Tuesday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael. We have some scattered rain moving its way east across the Midwest today. It'll be a little cooler on the backside of this rain, including some 60s and 50s for high temperatures. Most of the Midwest is going to be dry for your Wednesday, just a slight chance for rain to the far southwest and southeast. And by the time that we get to Thursday, got some thunderstorms starting to brew down in Kansas. And as we head through the rest of the Midwest, pretty decent for Thursday.
Good morning, I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. Here's a look at your regional weather. Temperatures sitting into the 60s and 50s all across the region, almost 70 all the way down toward the south. We'll be watching a little bit of a weak low and a weak cold front make its way down toward the south. That could fire up a few little showers, thunderstorms up across North Texas, maybe even into Oklahoma. For the most part, it's going to be a little warmer and a little bit more humid. I'm meteorologist Alex Garcia. That's a look at your regional weather.
Well, hi there, everybody, and a happy Tuesday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Shannon O'Donnell. Out west, it's starting to get warm here as we're heading deep into the month of April. The Valley of the Sun was in the triple digits yesterday. Today, we come up to 97 in southern Arizona and Phoenix. Upper 60s out of Spokane for a beautiful day there, and then low 60s out of LA. As we head into this afternoon, we're watching this area of low pressure. It's going to drop some scattered showers around the Sierra Nevada and Tahoe this afternoon. And that's the scene from here.
You are watching the National Weather Desk.
Plastics have been a long-standing threat to the Great Lakes. This summer, alongside the usual cleanup teams, there will be some extra help. Daniel Zivian has more.
As part of the Great Lakes plastic cleanup, the B-Bot will arrive on northern Michigan beaches this summer. Able to run for 3 hours, the B-Bot will pick up even the smallest debris.
It can go down about 4 inches into the sand, whereas most humans, we just pick up what we see on the surface. And then also the microplastics are quite small. And so it will pick up those plastics that are not necessarily visible to the human eye as we're walking along the beach.
The schedule is in progress, but McKay says the B-Bot will visit all 26 beaches twice, featuring community cleanup events. McKay says this opportunity will educate beyond the environment. The Petoskey High School Robotics Club will help operate the B-Bot.
If you're looking for more great weather content, be sure to check us out on social media. Just search the National Weather Desk. We're back right after this. Thank you so much for looking in on this Tuesday morning. I'm glad you're able to join me. I'm meteorologist Steve Rudin from WJLA in Washington, D.C. I hope to see you back here